Thanks. So hi guys, my name is Onzarash and I'm from Muse. We do hospitality software, in case you haven't heard of us. Hospitality software is everything, not just for hotels, but also for other categories of real estate, where it comes to long stays, where it comes to spas, where it comes to restaurant management. So we offer complete cloud solutions for anything related to hospitality. But I'm going to be talking about roadmaps, how we do it, what are our learnings, because I was basically hired to kick off a new product line in Muse, which was the product for hotel chains. So it was a lot about centralization and uplifting the data to a brand new level. And what were my learnings on the path, what I would do, what I wouldn't do. And hint of the day, by the end of this presentation, you should know what casinos and roadmaps have in common. So I'm going to ask that question at the end, or you can ask me. Okay, so when it comes to common roadmap associations, like when somebody says roadmap, what we usually associate with it? So you're going to hear stuff like timeline, priority, milestone, stakeholders management, probably deadlines, probably delivery plan. Roadmap is not the delivery plan, in my opinion. Roadmap should never be fixed step-by-step approach. Unfortunate reality is, in the majority of the companies, you're going to hear that, and this is basically approach a lot of companies take because of the way how product management evolved from project management. It's a similar to product owner, product manager kind of switch overnight, but the switch of title doesn't necessarily mean people get what roadmap is about. What's important here, in my opinion, roadmap should really come down from your strategy. Strategy comes down from your vision. So you have a vision, you have a strategy, you have a roadmap, and then roadmap translates into the backlog. So those are like basics. So roadmap must be flexible. You must be able to change the roadmap based on your learnings and iterative feedback loops that you have with your team. Because a lot of companies say they are agile, but when it comes to roadmap, they basically want waterfall roadmap. That's one of the challenges we're facing. And I think in this room, we know what we're talking about. So my situation. So I was hired to Muse something like 3 years ago. I met with a CPO, and CPO gave me a nice 2-pager of business reasoning why we want to open up a new channel and why we want to start a brand new business. So I'm like, fine, okay, let's have a look into it. Important to say, I do have a background in hospitality business. So what I received was kind of okay, makes sense business-wise, but like, what's really the vision and what's really like the product I want to sell. Because important thing to realize, whatever you're working on, it's not how perfect product is in your head. It's about, are the customers willing to pay for it? Because you're ultimately spending company's budget, and you need to make the return on investment that company is making in yourself. Unless, of course, you're in a business that doesn't need to provide revenues. So here we are. So I'm a single one-person team, pretty much for 3 months before first developer was hired and first PM was hired. Then another constraint, we want the product to be live and billable, meaning we are able to sell it, we are able to bill for it in 12 months. That means you're not just solving the product on a roadmap, you're also solving the internal systems and how to come to sales and billing cycles so it's go to market, right? The key question here to ask is, are you in a position, whoever you are, if you are producing a roadmap, to challenge the vision of your CPO, and is your company even offering this autonomy? That's, I think, quite crucial. Because if not, fine, that's one of the things that's important, and you're gonna need to take it into consideration. But if yes, and you're able to innovate, then you're in a good position to challenge that. So what did my first 3 months look like? So I took a deep look into what do we have for the start. What sort of data, what sort of problems, what sort of discoveries were done, and what do we have? Because we already had a history why we want to kick out this product line for hospitality chains. We had like 50 interviews, we had a bunch of data that you can dig through. The real thing is select the data that makes sense and basically try to find the problems. Because ultimately, a roadmap is your solution to the problems you discover, right? Problems that customers are willing to pay for. You can solve all the problems in the world, but unless there is a trade-off that they're willing to pay for it or you're upgrading the product, I don't think that you're going to be successful with that. So I was digging through a lot of data, and I created my own hypothesis, which I presented to the CPO and to additional stakeholders, and they were like, okay, this is not what we had in mind, because the original solution was something different, and my solution was a bit different. So based on my learnings and based on my validation, I was able to prove that the concept I have doesn't necessarily meet theirs, which is nice, because that shows you like your boss actually does take your opinion into consideration, and he doesn't think he knows it all. And I moved on. So to do your discovery properly, to really build your hypothesis, and to present it in a way that you have a buy-in is another factor how you can produce a good roadmap. We do outcome-focused roadmaps. Roadmap, again, is not a set of, okay, we launch it and magic happens. You need to have an outcome, and you need to have a goal. So these are a couple of examples that we use in our road mapping. In my specific case, we selected the reduction of manual work, because if you think about it, the whole chains, hospitality, or centralization is about taking a bunch of data and uplifting it to a data cluster from individual properties. And therefore, you're saving a lot of time. Because the problem was, you are owning a hotel chain. I've got 50 hotels. I want to set up a Christmas package rate, and I need to do it 50 times. So the time saving is obvious. And you need to really search for the biggest problem that customers have. Because if you think about it, the time saving can be translated to money, and money or savings is something every customer likes to hear about. So what happened next? After 3 months, I got my first team. Here the trick is that you're no longer a person who says, I know it all, but you've got a couple of other people that everybody has opinion. Fine, be open to opinion. I think you need to motivate with a product vision. If you would just present roadmap with, I know exactly what I want to do, I want you to do this and that, well, it can work. I don't think it's the best way, but fortunately enough, I got people on my team that were really inspired by being innovative and build something new. So we all kind of bound it together, and I welcome the other opinions, because obviously I'm not a developer, I don't have a tech background. So for me, it was easy to say this might take 2 months, 3 months, and so on. Reality was somewhere else, because the fact was that we are taking a system that's already developed, and we just need to build a new system on top of it, which obviously is going to collide, because you're going to get people that have been in a company for years. They're going to say, we never did it this way, fine. But the real challenge is how do you persuade them that it actually makes sense to build something new. And this is why, again, I'm stressing out, keep it flexible, iterative. You need to change the roadmap based on your learnings, and you need to communicate how the roadmap changes based on what learnings. Because again, it's not static. And of course, especially with a new product where sales or the whole company has expectation how it's going to look like, you need to be very clear on why you're making the changes in the roadmap and what's in it, right? And then talking about discovery, I'm pretty sure you're going to discover a bunch of problems to solve. But unless you focus on 2, maybe even 1, that you want to open up with and you want to build your value proposition on top of it, I think you're getting yourself into a very dangerous situation, because it means you're looking for a perfect solution. Perfect solution doesn't exist. You need to make sure you launch with enough value that is fine for initial buy-in, and you build on top of it. Because it's simply to build everything in 1 year. If it was that easy, everybody would have done it. Situation is, it's not that case, right? Choose your North Star metric. North Star metric can be what I was showing before as an outcome, as a time saver, because then you're building a story that you're selling, that you're kind of communicating throughout the company, and that's basically the story behind your roadmap. Those are the reasons why you're investing in certain aspects. So the story would be, okay, we're building a new product for hotel chains. We think it's going to save you this amount of time based on your size. You're going to save this amount of money, and this is how we're going to get it. This is what we're going to want. This is the amount we're going to want from you to pay for it. Okay, fine. One of the slides I would like to show is what I would do differently. So if you look at the top section, those were all the sources I had to dig through to come to a solution and to basically come to assumptions we had. Of course, it all begins with a strategy, because we work in a model where we have company OKRs, and then we cascade it down, as probably everybody. So strategy serves as an input. We all kind of digested it, all the interviews and insights into a tool called ClickUp. We don't use it anymore. We also don't use other tools on the board. We use Jira Product Discovery. I know there is another talk on this today. So why we did it? Because we're just unifying everything in less apps, and therefore it's much easier to track, and we're able to come to conclusions much better. This basically shows you that you're probably not going to have all the tools in the world or a perfect tool setup in the beginning or even now, but that's not a blocker. It's still about your ability to digest the problems. How do you make the validation? How you collaborate with designers and with engineering. So we use the model called Trio. We have an engineering engineering director or engineering manager. We have designer and we have product manager in every Trio, and they are basically forming the team that then will collaborate together to produce the best outcomes. It's working pretty well. Right? We we still use Miro, that's actually true, but those are basically where all the sketches happen. The real thing happens in the ClickUp, which is the main work in backlog, and then we produced a roadmap out of it. We use different tools, like I was saying. But basically, don't fall for the trap of we need perfect tools, everything needs to be great, and don't be obsessed with spending first 2 months trying to persuade your IT to get you a shiny new tool, because that's not going to help. All right, so launch and challenges. Launch and challenges, of course, we invested 12 months into work. We don't want a half-baked solution. Inevitably, you're going to be delayed in some cases on the delivery due to several reasons, due to unknowns, due to new software, due to building a new system. Fine. Then you need to make a decision, how are you going to approach it? Like, if you can, get additional time to make sure you're really launching something that customers are willing to pay for, because people simply are tempted to hit their delivery terms and to say, okay, we promised 12 months, it's going to be 12 months, but do you want to be in a position where you spend the next few months just fixing the bugs or making sure you're uplifting the features? I don't think you do. And again, this must be captured on the roadmap. You must balance needs of small and largest customers. Maybe in your businesses or your products, you're being pressed by the largest customers who are paying you the biggest amount of money to work on this very specific feature just for them. My advice be avoid this if you can, because ultimately you're not doing customizations for them. It needs to work for the whole population. This is probably the most difficult part, because of course you're going to be under pressure from sales. Even if you're going to have 80% of finished system, you're always going to get requests from the biggest customers. Okay, but if you finish this, can you immediately jump on something that would help just us? Hard to generalize. I would say this is also about your negotiation skills, because the whole roadmap is negotiation at the end of the day. Right? And of course, let's not forget that you can build the best product in the world, but unless you're able to open it up to a customer, and this is what I call the unboxing experience, like it should be as easy as opening the system and configuring it in several steps. The reality is that's probably not going to happen. So you need to make sure you have your onboarding set up right, the configurations are there, the setups are there. So you're selling the whole experience, not just the product, right? So product roadmap usually is tempting to say this is just product development. Reality is it's not. You need to factor in the onboarding, the support, and basically everything that's related to new product, including sales. And I think that's one of the main challenges that you're going to be facing there. Proving that you have results. So if you recall, I was talking about North Star metrics. But you should be able to define how the success look like during the creation of your roadmap, during your phases. You might change it, that's fine. But you kicked off with some assumptions and hypotheses. You've probably collected enough evidence during your development to say, okay, does it make sense? Does it not? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you just need to be flexible in this, right? This is the feedback loop I was talking about. This is something that generally is hard, because those are hard discussions if you're completely switching it or if you're just revamping it. But you need to prove that whatever hypothesis you have, you're correct. So here you can see events by week. The violet color is the events happening in the new product. The orange, or is it yellow? The yellow tiles are what's happening in the old version of the product. So ultimately, you can see that what we produced was good enough, if not great enough, because everybody immediately jumped to using the new product. So this is good. Is it the North Star metric? It's not. It's still just a leading indicator of how the product is good, and is good enough for launch phase. You still need to iterate it, you still need to upgrade it, and you need to make sure you track this. Because this is ultimately saying, okay, there are opinions, but then there are data. And if you connect the opinions of the customers with the data, that's what's making your products successful or not, and you need to be able to defend it in front of others. So how do we summarize it? If I would do it again, I would still start with a vision, and I think ultimately every roadmap, every product needs to start with a good vision, because that vision dictates your strategy. The vision is something that inspires the people, and it basically shows you're able to understand the customer's problems or anyone's problems that you're solving with a product, and coming to a good point where you're okay with saying, I know what the main problems are, is ultimately where it should be. Then autonomy. That's something we really emphasize, and I'm lucky because I work in a place where we do value autonomy and we give a lot of autonomy. On the other hand, we expect a lot of results, which is fine. You need to give your teams autonomy to discover, to validate, to do it their way, right? And to produce something that's impactful. So we don't really dictate how you should do your discovery process. We don't dictate how you should develop. That's fine. You can leave it. We leave it completely up to you. But what we do want is that you understand that autonomy comes with accountability and that you have results. But for sure, autonomy is great. I wouldn't be able to control 4 teams that I have now if I would be just micromanaging them. And then the importance of discovery, as I was mentioning, this needs to be continuous. You don't do it just in the beginning and carry on. This needs to be a dual track, right? So discovery should always be in front of delivery, especially on new product lines and especially with customers testing, because that's basically saying how good your feedback loop is, and that's determining success of your future product. So if you look at it, if you're in a now phase, which is usually till 3 months, then you're moving up to 6 and 9 and more. But you need to have a plan, and roadmap is ultimately a plan. So some main learnings. As a PM, you don't have to be right all the time, and I was there in the position. I thought I have a perfect solution. After having a larger team and hearing other inputs, I basically wasn't able to control all the customer interviews and to digest everything that's coming in, which is great. I welcome it. But as a PM, you need to drive the vision, because that's ultimately what you're holding, and that's your ultimate responsibility of a product manager. You need to make sure you test as early as possible. You need to make sure you test everything that you think would be valuable enough, that the customers would be paying for, and you need to do it as soon as possible. I don't care if you have it on sketches, I don't care if you do it through prototypes, that's all fine. But really test it and make sure it's good. Then we're obviously getting into, do you have demo environment, can you test it on production data, and so on. Decide North Star metrics. This is something you also need to do in the beginning. If you're not doing it in the beginning, it shows you haven't discovered your problems properly, and you don't have a clue of what's going to happen. So you need to balance the leading and lagging metrics, but you need to have a clear vision and a clear story that you're selling, which is ultimately the value proposition. So that would be, we have discovered this, we need to develop the product for hospitality chains because we know they have issue with a lot of manual work, which is costing them a lot of money and time and resources. Then we introduce you to this product, which is saving you the time. And of course, team is the most important part of your success. You're not succeeding if you don't have a good team, if you don't have people that buy in the vision, if they are motivated to work for you, and if they are focused. Right. That would be it. So now coming to the casino. So what do you think casinos and roadmaps have in common? Yeah. So, almost. So it's a series of bets. So you have a vision. I'm going to get rich tonight. You have a strategy. Okay, I'm going to play this game, that game. You have a budget. I'm going to spend it here, I'm going to spend it there. So you're placing series of bets with certain confidence that you're going to be more or less successful, And this is based on your strategy. Right? If you compare it to roadmap, you're pretty much doing the same thing. But there, obviously, you have it more in your hands. You're not putting it that much to the fortune, because you should have much larger confidence in your skills in road mapping than in the casino. But if you think about it, you're placing series of bets based on a hypothesis, based on a vision, and you have a certain strategy and budget when you come in. Yeah. And that would be really it. Yeah. OK, thanks. End of presentation. Not sure if we have questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we got one question for Honza on Eventy. OK, there is another one. And one, well, let's say, comment, probably. It says, insert document title here. I don't know. It was probably the part of the presentation, this slide there.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess. Well, anyway, to the questions. Do you think the roadmap should be detailed enough to have clear product milestones, versions, and requirements?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you think the roadmap should be detailed enough to have clear product milestones, versions, and requirements?
That sounds like delivery plan to me. Ultimately, I think the roadmap should have requirements. I think that's too detailed for a roadmap. Roadmap is really a set of your steps. What you're saying can be captured based on the tool. I think what was mentioned there is actually what creates the roadmap and certain milestones for sure. But behind every milestone, there is a requirement and there is some set of features that's wanted. Why? I would say the roadmap should pretty much say why is it there and why there is a certain priority over another roadmap item. What's described there sounds more like delivery plan to me. So I think these are good sources in order to produce roadmap milestones. I would say not necessarily, but again, that really depends. Roadmap can be even done in PowerPoint, and it can contain several things. Yeah.
Thank you. And another one. Do you think product manager should be the tactical driver and set up clear requirements, expectations, and how to proceed with the project?
Very much depends on the company, the background, and the role. I think the product manager should be the one setting the tone's requirements. He should be the one understanding the requirements of customers or users. On the other hand, he shouldn't be the only one. I think you need engineering and design to understand as well. Otherwise, it's going to be my opinion versus kind of disconnected group. So I wouldn't say that is the best approach. That's one of the reasons why we use the trio model, where we really bound at least the designer or the designer, the engineer, and product manager together. So we motivate them to speak with customers, to do customer visits in person, so they can really understand the problems. And then they are able to explain it to the wider group. Because when we do backlog and when we create epics and stuff, then every epic is broken down, and that's the work of engineering manager. So without that understanding, he wouldn't be able to produce it. But the PM should be definitely the one telling him what problems are we solving, or collaborating on understanding the mutual problems that the team should solve. He should be the one who's slicing it as well, but obviously this is done in a group. But he should really set the tone of, I think this is the highest priority and I'm able to explain you why. If he's not able to explain you why, I would challenge him there probably needs to be a bit more work invested into that.
Thank you. So there was no questions anymore. 3 things from my side before the break. The first is, enjoy the lunchtime, and we will come here back again at 1:30 p.m. So there is enough break, I believe, for the lunch. You can grab it either here, you can go to the food truck that is outside of this building, or you can go basically anywhere, it's up to you. The second thing is that Honza will still be available at the speaker's corner, which is just outside of this room, for a couple of minutes, so that he can enjoy the lunch as well.
Yeah, and at Muse booth.
Yeah, and the third and last thing, thank you, Honza. It was
welcome.
really good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.